Hi, my name is Matthew Peters and I'm a staff engineer here at HashiCorp. What I'm going to talk to you about today is how Terraform Cloud can help you reduce your overall cloud spend. Now, in the past year, Gartner reported that $11 billion was wasted on idle cloud resources. Another $6 billion was wasted on over-provisioned resources. Now, in order to understand how they got to this number, we have to break down why this is happening. Now, at a lot of large companies, what you'll have is a team, or perhaps even teams of infrastructure engineers, application developers, cloud teams, using a product like Terraform to go out and provision infrastructure. Now, when this infrastructure gets provisioned, they are using or incorporating resources to go provision out to AWS, GCP, Microsoft Azure. Now, these resources, of course, are going to cost money. Now, generally, these application developers, cloud engineers, or infrastructure folks aren't really paying attention to how much money they're spending in the cloud because their priority is to get infrastructure up and running for applications for the business. Now, generally, what will happen is after this code gets compiled or these pull requests get approved or it gets sent to a pipeline, you then have a team of perhaps security and compliance folks checking to make sure all the code is secure. Did you mark your S3 bucket as public? Did you mark a VM with a public IP? Right? And if all these things check out, then the code gets approved and the infrastructure will get spun up. But what's generally left out and missing is how much money are we spending on this infrastructure? Are we checking for things like the size of the VM? Are you tagging your infrastructure? So we have some form of cadence to go check and see if this infrastructure can be deleted or not. And this is where all of this money that Gartner has reported is being spent. So I can teach you, or I can tell you today, how Terraform Cloud can help incorporate less spending in the cloud. So instead of taking this process here, which I'll call the traditional process, with Terraform Cloud, we're going to use a more modern process. And that modern process requires less human intervention, if not any, and we're going to use a feature called Sentinel. Now, what Sentinel will do is all of these things. It will check and see if the developer perhaps left their S3 bucket marked as public. It can check for VMs that have public IP addresses, so on and so forth. But the power in Sentinel is this happens, and these checks happen at runtime. So no more queuing tickets, no more waiting for humans to go interact with a ticket. Also, if something is out of bounds, it will fail at runtime. Meaning the infrastructure itself won't even get provisioned. But where does all of this money talk come into play, and how can Terraform Cloud help your business save money in the cloud? Now, the wonderful thing about Sentinel, the game changer about Sentinel and Terraform Cloud, is it can do things like only allow for certain VM sizes in the cloud. So only allow a T2 micro in development environments, or only allow small databases in developer environments. Because why do I need an MX4 large in my developer environment or my sandbox? And why do I need a super large database in my sandbox if it's not going to get utilized and just left idle? So the power of Sentinel is you can write rules, policy as code engines to reduce your overall cloud spend so that developers do not over provision in your cloud, right? And this is going to save company tons of money, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in cost savings because we are locking down the ability for teams to over-provision infrastructure by using a tool like Sentinel, which is ran at runtime and will fail at runtime if, in fact, the rules are out of bounds. Sentinel can get so granular that it can actually determine or set a rule in place to only allow developers to spend X amount of money in their Terraform workspace. So once all of these things get approved, and we're all happy here, then you can go out and provision your code to AWS, Microsoft Azure, or GCP, or your private data center, or private cloud. I hope this has been helpful. Please refer to www.hashicorp.com for more information.